Is that recording? Why'd you laugh?
Because you dropped them.
Right. Okay, hello YouTube, JP here. I was about to say John Paul. JP, same thing. So as you can tell by the video title, I'm doing something a little bit different today. I'm talking about attempt selection strategy. And this, I appreciate from the very beginning, will be something that is interesting to some, and for many people, especially those who aren't coaches, might not be as interesting for. But I think even as a lifter who doesn't coach, I think understanding these principles makes it really, really useful when you're watching a competitive competition, and it helps you appreciate kind of what's going on in the lifting. Okay, so before I go into the examples and the explanations of strategy, I just want to explain a couple of rules specific to powerlifting and the IPF, International Powerlifting Federation, and its affiliates. Now, the first rule that I want to explain is how to win. Now, it sounds pretty straightforward. The winner is the person with the biggest total. Or if it's a bench press only, the winner is the person with the biggest bench press. However, if two people tie on total, the winner is the person with a lower body weight. If two people tie on body weight as well as total, which has happened very unusually, then the winner is the person who achieves the total first. So whoever achieves that total, they get that score, and if someone comes in and matches them, then they would lose. So I've got an example here, just for that scenario. So we've got lifter A, lifter B, and this is a body weight. They both weighed 83.00 exactly. Lifter A subtotal is 300, lifter B's subtotal is 315. So lifter B is 15 kilos behind lifter A. First deadlifts go, one deadlifts 230, the next one deadlifts 250. And then in the second round, lifter B deadlifts 240, lifter A deadlifts 260. So that's a 20 kilo difference, and the subtotal difference was only 15 kilos. So you can imagine lifter A is leading by 5 kilos. Now lifter B's coach makes a mistake and jumps 5 kilos and achieves a total of 560, which is the same as lifter A. So lifter A achieves the same total, lifter B, achieves the same total as lifter A, but he loses because lifter A achieved that total of 560 in deadlift 2. He missed his third deadlift of 267.5. So lifter A would be the winner because he achieved total 560 in the second round, whereas lifter B achieves his total of 560 in the third round. So that's how tiebreakers are decided. Obviously the winner is the person with the biggest total. If it's a tie, it goes to the person with the lower body weight. If that's a tie, it goes to the person who achieves the total first. The second rule that I need to explain is about lifting order. Now lifting order in each round is determined by what weight is selected, and the bar starts at the lightest weight and moves up with each attempt. If two people have nominated the same weight for their attempt, then the lifting order goes to the person with the lowest lot number. So whoever's got the lower lot number, they lift first. The lot number is a random number that's assigned to each lifter before the weigh-ins even start, and it determines weigh-in order and lifting order if there's a tie. The last thing I'm going to explain is that the change of attempts. So once you've submitted an attempt, you're not allowed to change it. However, in the third round of deadlifts, or the third round of bench press in a bench-only competition, you're allowed to change your third attempt twice. Once you've submitted a second attempt change, then that's locked in. You're allowed to change your attempt at any time, but it has to be done before the bar is loaded to you, and you're not allowed to change your attempt below whatever happened. So if some lifters had already attempted a 250 kilo deadlift, you can't change your attempt to 245 because otherwise the bar would have to go down in weight and the bar has to always go up. So those are the rules that are really important to consider, and you have to know them if you're going to be a coach in a powerlifting competition in the IPF. So now that we understand the rules, I want to move into some different scenarios in regards to attempt selection. So I'm going to have three examples. The first one is if it's a bench press only competition. I'm going to start there because it's a bit easier to see. There's only one lift. The second example I'm going to use is if you're coaching a lifter who has the weaker subtotal, which means you have to make up ground with the deadlift. And the third example is going to be the opposite, when you've got a lifter who's got a bigger subtotal but a deadlift that's worse. If you happen to be a lifter who's got a bigger subtotal and a bigger deadlift, I think you're going to win. And if you're the opposite, where you've got a lifter who's got the weaker subtotal and they also have a weaker deadlift, they're probably going to lose. So I'm looking at the case scenarios where they kind of cross over each other. Okay, so the first misconception that I really want to quickly touch on is the fact that attempt selection strategy doesn't wait till the third round of deadlifts or the third round of bench press in a bench press only competition. The strategy with attempt selection is throughout. Now, I know there are many coaches that are against the idea of changing or deviating from your planned attempts because of the competition, especially in the first and second attempts of your lifts, but it is worthwhile to consider changing your plan if it can help secure a better placing in the total, okay? So I've got an example here of a bench press competition. This is a bench press only, and we've got two lifters. I've got lifter A, Alan, lifter B, Bert, and Alan weighs less than Bert. So that's really important to consider. And let's give them both lot numbers, which I haven't done. So Alan's gonna have a lot number of 3, for example, and I'm gonna give Bert a lot number of 1. Okay, and they've both weighed in, and Alan's body weight, opening bench press he submitted, he's 140 kilos. And my lifter, the person I'm gonna be coaching here, is Bert. And our opener happens to be 145. So before the first bench press has even started, based on the openers, we've got the upper hand. Now, even before lifting starts, we can make a decision. Do we want to change our opener? Obviously, this is based on how our warm-ups are going and whatnot, but in terms of the strategy, that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is should we be changing our opener? So the first option we have is we could go down an opener. We could go down to 142.5, because at the end of the first round, after bench press 1, in this scenario, we're winning, and winning is fine, and that's a good place to be. If we change our opener down to 142.5 at the end of the first round, we'll still be winning. So that's really good also. And it saves us a bit of energy. So we have that option. The other option is to go up. And if we go up, then it forces Alan into a harder second attempt. We'll see how that goes. But let's, for the moment, pretend that no one changes. Alan makes his first attempt, successful. And then Bert comes, and my lifter, and he's also successful. And because Alan took his attempt first, we can see what his second attempt is. And he's strategically chosen to go to 145. You can see why this is a good attempt, because if he gets this lift, then he's tied with Bert, but Alan will be beating Bert because Alan's on the lower body weight. So now we've got to make a decision as to what second attempt we want. We can choose, there are 2 main options here. We can choose to take the lead by the smallest amount possible. So that would be 147.5. Because if we choose 140, we can't choose 145 obviously because we've just done that. And if we do that, then we'll be in the lead at the end of the second round. Or we can choose to take a bigger attempt to force Alan to fight in the third attempt. So let's say, for example, we do that. That might be a successful attempt. We might do 152.5. So after the second round, Alan is successful and Bert is successful. Now we're winning quite substantially by 7.5. Now in the third round, in a bid to beat Bert, Alan jumps to 152.5. And we put in a third attempt bench press of, let's just say 155, the minimum attempt, and we're still behind Alan. And then because we've chosen 152.5, now Alan has been forced to make a big jump, 7.5 kilos, and that might be the limit. And then he fails. So now Bert's the winner. And we've just won the competition with a second attempt. Now the other option that could occur is, rather than this scenario, is we choose a more conservative attempt. We choose a 147. So we do 147.5, we're in the lead. In a bid to take the lead, Alan's third attempt now is, instead of 152, it's 147.5. That's within his reach, he gets it. So now we're forced to take the lead with 150, and we miss. Okay, so there's so many different options that could occur. Which one is the right one to go obviously depends on what's going on. How hard was Alan's attempt? How easy or hard was my lifter's attempt? But straight away, because we've got the bigger opener in the bench press, we're in the driver's seat. We can make decisions based on what Alan's doing. So that's an example of some strategy that might be involved in a single lift competition. Okay, so let's look at the case now where your lifter is trailing at the subtotal, so you're losing essentially after squats and bench. But luckily enough, they've got the better deadlift, and we want to see if we can take the win in the end. Okay, so let's have a look at this situation. We've got these 2 lifters. So we've got lifter J, lifter K. It's the name. This is their body weight, 66 and 65.5. We're not putting in lot numbers because the lot numbers are of no relevance at this point. We've got subtotal here. So J is trailing K, 337.5 to 367.5. And these are the deadlift openers. So the way I like to look at it is I say, what's the difference in subtotal? So lifter J is trailing lifter K by 30 kilos, which means that J has to outlift K by 30 kilos. And if he does, they'll be tied, but he'll lose on body weight. So the differential is now plus 32.5. So whatever basically K lifts, we have to outlift by 32.5. Now you can see that here, in the opening lift, that differential is only 22.5. So here, that differential is 22.5. That's not the margin that we're looking for. That's not the lead that we're looking for. Okay, so the first round, and we just leave this as it is. First lifter takes the 235. This lifter takes 257.5. K makes their second attempt 245 as deadlift 2. And now we need to make a decision. What is our second attempt going to be? And from here, you have 3 options. The first option is to take a really light attempt where you'll still be losing. So in this situation, we're losing. So you can take a really light attempt. So that would be something like this. So come over here, you can see this will be like something like 265, okay? Where that differential is only plus 20 and it's not enough to be in the lead. So you'll still be losing. The second option is to take the 30 kilo lead or the 32 kilo lead. So let's call that 7.5. So now that's the required 32.5 kilo difference. And you'll be in the lead by the minimum amount, 2.5 kilos. And the third option is to take a really large jump. So let's say 287.5. And that's to be in the lead by quite a lot. So to take the lead. So let's go with this example first. So let's say we take this attempt. They're successful, we're still losing. And then K is forced to take a third attempt, whatever it might be. And let's say they miss. If they miss, now our third attempt, deadlift 3, is going to be whatever it takes to beat that. So now the third attempt is 275. However, if they're successful with like say 250 or 255 or whatever it is, we can just play the third attempt to beat that. So basically the second attempt is like a waiting game. You don't go very heavy, you go light just to get a lift in and stay warm. And you wait for K's third attempt deadlift and then you just pick them off. The second option is this, where let's go with this option now. We go 277.5 on the second attempt to take the lead. Now, at the end of the second round, that differential is a 32.5. So now J is winning. So K has to make a decision. On their third attempt here, do they go up to 247.5 to take the lead back, but only by the minimum amount? Or do they go to a bigger number and take the lead by a bigger amount? So if they take this minimum amount, 247.5, now we only need to take the minimum amount again, 280. But if they go to 250, then we need to do 282.5. If they go to 252.5, then we need to go to 285. So basically, after the second attempt, we're in the lead. So I'm coaching Lifter J. Lifter J is in the lead, and it's up to K to choose what their third attempt. How big of a jump do they want to take? And whatever it is, we'll pick them off in the third. If they miss, they miss. The third option is to take a big jump like this, because now this lead here is 42.5 kilos. So you're basically forcing Lifter K to take the lead. So let's say we did this attempt of 287.5. I know it's hard to follow, but you'll have the chance to rewatch. Let's say we take this attempt here of 287.5. Now that differential is 42.5. I'll rewrite that, 42.5 kilos. So in order to make it back, Lifter K is going to need to jump 12.5 kilos here. So they're going to be forced to go to 257, assuming you make that lift. And if you've decided after the second attempt that you're in a stronger position, you're confident with this, after the first round, if you're confident with this, you might go to here and win basically in the second round. So you have a couple of options here, so you need to make your choice. I tend to choose this option or this option, where you either take the lead by the minimum amount in the second round, or you choose to hang back and wait for them to make their third attempt deadlift and then go for the win on the last round. So there's a couple of options there, but these are the two that I prefer. Okay, so just to reiterate what the options are here in the second attempts, you can either choose to take a small jump and deliberately be losing at the end of the second round, assuming you all make your lift in the second round. And basically what you're doing is you're hanging back and then you're waiting for the third round of lifts for the opposition to miss their lift or make their lift, whatever happens, and then you can decide your attempt, because you can make changes to your attempt to pick them off and win. Your other option is to take the lead by the minimum amount, either tie if you're lighter, or lead by 2.5, and then hope that the opposition misses their third attempt. Or your other option is, if you're confident, is to take a really big jump or put yourself in so far in the lead that there is no way that your opposition can catch up on a third. So there are your three options. So let's look at the opposite case where our lifter has the better subtotal, but their deadlift's not as strong. And it's very, very similar to the case that we just looked at, but it's kind of the other way around. You're on the other side of the coin. Okay, so we've got lifter L and we have lifter M. And lifter L weighed in at 83.5 kilos. So we're lighter. This is our lifter. And the opposition weighed in at 84.0 kilos. And our subtotal is better. So our subtotal is 400. Their subtotal is 380. Subtotal. So what we do is before we even do our first deadlifts, let's say our deadlift opener is 220 and our deadlift's not as strong as theirs, their opener is 230. So before the first round of deadlifts even start, we can establish what margin it is. That is 20 kilos. So if we get outlifted in the deadlift by 20 kilos, that's okay because we'll win because we're lighter. But if we get outlifted by 22.5 kilos, then we lose. So 20 kilos is the limit of how much we can lose by. So before lifting even starts in the deadlift, we can start to look at the scoreboard. And we can say our deadlift opener is 220, their deadlift opener is 230. Do we want to change our deadlift opener? We have one option. Either keep it at 220, essentially, with two options. Either keep it at 220 and finish the round leading, or we can drop it down to as low as 210. I'm going to write that lightly here. Because if we go to 210, at the end of the first round, we'll still be in the lead. We'll be tied, but in the lead. And that saves us energy, but we're still leading. But let's not change the plan. Let's leave it at 220 kilos. And at the end of the first round, we're leading by 10 kilos. Now, the key here is to watch the deadlift opener of the opposition and decide ahead of time what we think that their maximum deadlift is going to be for the day. So let's say we see this and we say their maximum deadlift that they have in them is maybe 250. And this is where having a good coach's eye is really important. We watch them and go, it was okay, it wasn't fantastic, they might have 20 kilos left. And we say, well, if they've got a maximum of 250 in them, let's pick an attempt in deadlift 2 that forces them to go above that. So let's go to 232.5, assuming that our opener was good. Because now, they're forced, if they want to take the lead, they have to go to 250. So this is what we do, because we have to go before them, we have to decide. Now they're forced to decide. Let's pretend that they take up one of the options that we spoke about before in our other example. And let's say they choose to hang back. And they might pick their second attempt deadlift to be like 240. So in this case, if we both make our second attempts, we will be leading. Lifter L will be leading by 12.5 kilos, because that's only a 7.5 kilo differential. We'll be leading by quite a bit. And then we decide to go up again, and we go to and we have to make a decision now, into third attempt deadlift. And the key now is, because we're in the driver's seat, is we just want to edge this up ever so slightly to force them to go even more. If we miss, let's say we miss the third attempt, then the opposition, all they need to go is to 252, which might be within reach. We'll be stuck on that deadlift. So we want to edge this up only slightly to force them to go up even more. So we might go to 237.5, because that's realistic. Imagine we get that. Now they've got to go to 257.5, and that might definitely be out of reach. 257.5. So the key with our deadlift selection attempts, when you've got the weaker deadlift, is you've got to really have a good coach's eye and figure out what limit does the opposition have, what is their limit, and pick attempts that force them to go above that. So it's really, really hard. You're not in the driver's seat, unlike the other option where you've got the better deadlift. However, it can be done, and sometimes it works out even in your favor, because then you don't have to play mind games. All you really need to do, like this strategy is of less significance, and you just need to maximize your deadlift potential, get the biggest lift you can, and hope that it's enough that it's out of reach of the opposition. Where the strategy is important is that sometimes you don't need to push your limit, you just need to get enough to force them off their limit. So it's kind of a bit of a balancing act. You might say that your limit here is 242 or 245, but you say, you know what, if we do 237, I'm confident that our opposition, they're not going to be able to match that in the total. So there's a little bit of strategy there. Okay, so that's the video. I know it was a little bit hard to follow sometimes. It is quite difficult to imagine all these things happening, and especially if you're not a numbers person, or if you're American or Canadian and not familiar with kilos, again, it can be quite challenging to follow. But I recommend rewatching the video a couple of times to try to make sense of everything. This isn't the be all and end all. There are a lot more different cases, I should say. There might be 3 or 4 or 5 lifters jostling for position, and you need to make decisions. Do you want to take first, second, third? Is first too far? Should you settle for second place? There are so many situations, and the best way to learn it is to immerse yourself. Go to as many competitions as you can. Obviously, the best option is to be a coach, but even spectating, watching lifts, watching big championships, and just watching the attempt selection is very, very interesting. So I hope this gave you a little bit of insight into what it's like to make decisions about attempts in competition. Again, I know this might not be overly interesting to a lot of you guys, but for the coaches out there, I hope this was of value. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Share it around with your friends that might be interested in something like this. I don't think there are many videos like this on YouTube, so I thought I'd do something original today. But yeah, thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, share, comment, blah, blah, blah. Thanks.